I first came to the BVI in 1984 and had my first saltfish patty in St. Thomas before taking the boat over. Prior to that, I knew absolutely nothing about saltfish. Yes, I am a Caribbean woman, but I'm from that country up north where we call ourselves the Bahamas. So I came down to visit in 1984, had my first saltfish patty, and fell in love. Today, I am going to share with you two of my favorite saltfish recipes. Unusual, but delicious all the same. So today, as I promised, I'm going to be sharing with you two saltfish recipes, and these can be useful especially for the upcoming holiday season when you're entertaining your friends or when you just have family over and you want to have some snacks. So firstly, I'm going to do for you what we call a curried saltfish dip, which is cleaned and minced saltfish as I have here. And then I'm gonna just go through the recipe with you with some cream cheese, some minced onions, tomatoes, lemons, etc. So I have here already 8 ounces of softened cream cheese. And then I'm going to add to that some very finely minced onions. So I've started chopping the onions here already. And I'm just going to get them a little finer because we don't really want to taste all of these other ingredients. The stars of this dish would be cream cheese, curry, and saltfish, right? So let's just mince the onions a little more. And we're going to do approximately, this is 8 ounces of cream cheese. And we're going to add to this about 8 ounces of minced saltfish, right? So to the cream cheese, we want to add about 2 tablespoons of minced onions. And then I finally found some good garlic. You would remember from one of my earlier shows, I complained about the quality of garlic found locally. So I'm going to mince 1 clove of garlic. So I find the best way to treat my garlic is to crush it with the back of your knife. And then you want to make several cuts down the center and across, and then you just mince with your knife. We also spoke in one of our earlier programs about having a good knife, particularly a good chopping knife, especially when you want to do things like mince onion and garlic. Okay, so we have this 1 garlic clove finely chopped, and we're going to add that. And then we want to add, I have a tomato here, and I'm going to use my tomato knife. I want to use about half of this tomato. And I'm going to cut it down and remove the seeds because we don't want the seeds in there. Okay. So now that our tomato is seeded, we want to just, again, cut this as fine as possible. So we're going to first go through this with the tomato knife. Okay, now let's just chop this up really fine. And as you know, throughout the Caribbean, we all have our ways of cooking saltfish. A lot of us are familiar with just the regular saltfish and provisions or saltfish and Johnny cake. But we also have saltfish patties and saltfish fritters and saltfish cakes. Saltfish cakes we make at Lady Sarah's. It's made with, again, minced saltfish, mashed potatoes, and herbs and spices. And then we serve it with a Lady Sarah's sauce. And it's very popular. So there are very many ways that you can treat saltfish. The more traditional ways and then the more modern, sophisticated ways we call it. So what I've done here is I've cooked a tablespoon of curry powder, just because you don't want to taste that raw, curry, if you don't treat it properly, tends to leave a raw flavor in your dishes. So I cooked down about a tablespoon of curry powder, and I'm going to add that to my cream cheese. And I'm going to stir that in before I add the other ingredients. So we just want to stir that in until it's well incorporated. So now we're going to add the tomatoes. And the tomatoes really are to balance the flavors. So you have a real subtle umami flavor. Now we're going to add some lemon juice. About half a lemon. These days, sometimes you buy the lemons and they have absolutely no juice. So when you get a recipe that says half a lemon, you have to judge about a tablespoon, 1 to 2 tablespoons from half a lemon, depending on the quality of the lemon that you get. Then we want to add just a little bit of fresh thyme. And then I'm going to add 1 seasoning pepper and a little bit of hot pepper. Okay, so again, we want to get this really fine as we can. And this is actually a habanero pepper. Normally we would use Scotch bonnet. This was the first thing that came to my hand when I went outside to pick this morning. So we're going to use just a little bit of this because it's extremely hot. Okay, so we have our seasoning pepper and a little bit of habanero. Okay, so now we're going to take some of this saltfish in this little bowl here. Make sure it's all very well minced. And again, it's equal parts cream cheese, equal parts saltfish. So I don't really like to boil my saltfish too much. I would soak my saltfish, wash it, soak it, then change the water about 3 times. And for this dish, I prefer to get a smoky flavor. So I would put it on the grill a bit or in a pan on the top of the stove, just to get a nice smoky flavor in the saltfish. And I think that's going to be a bit too small, so we're going to mix it in here. You want to make sure that you have your saltfish finely minced and also remove all of the bones. I prefer saltfish with bone. To me, it just has better flavor. The one without bone, to me, just seems to be a lot saltier, has a lot more salt, and the flavor just isn't the same. It's like meat, anything with bones, you have more flavor. So same thing with saltfish. So we're going to just turn this in here. And mix it up really well. Okay, the final item. I would normally use cilantro. I don't have any today. So I'm just going to use some parsley. And it's just going to give it, complete the flavor profile and give it a nice color dimension. So we got some chopped parsley. Okay, and that's it. If you feel you've boiled your saltfish, if you choose to boil your saltfish and you think you've boiled it too much, you can just add a pinch of salt to season. But this should be fine. I'm just going to add a pinch of black pepper. And you'll see the finished product when I've done saltfish recipe number 2. Okay, so now for recipe number 2. We are going to, so again, we have about, this would be about a pound of saltfish, and we're going to add to this some thinly sliced onions that I previously sliced, and we're going to add some red bell peppers, and I'm also going to add some chopped scallions, these from my garden. Okay, just gonna add, and this is really to show you all the beautiful colors of the Caribbean. It's called Saltfish Buljol in, say, Trinidad and Barbados, and everybody seems to make it a little differently. So we're going to add that. We're going to now add a bit of garlic. One thing I learned, there's a song that goes around the Virgin Islands that says all saltfish sweet. And I think that's true because I've really learned to like saltfish a lot. It's one of those things that we ate a lot, well, before my time, in my mother's time, my grandmother's time, when fish was preserved with salt because there was very little refrigeration, or no refrigeration, sorry. So like other meats like pork and beef, fish was also preserved using salt, and it just became a huge part of our diet. Like I said earlier, a lot of us just use it in the traditional ways though. You know, saltfish and provisions, or saltfish and Johnny cake, saltfish patties, saltfish fritters. But there's so many other things we can do with it. And that's why I want to share this with you today. So we're going to now add seasoning peppers and hot pepper again. I just cannot cook anything fish or maybe anything at all without hot peppers. So let's just add now some seasoning peppers. And this is just guesstimating with regards to, we're going to put the recipes down in the description box below. So look out for the recipes. This, again, habanero, so I'm not going to use too much because it's really very hot. And you can always adjust the seasonings to your liking. You don't have to stick with, and that goes for any recipe that you find. You don't have to stick to exactly to the script, unless of course it's baking a cake or something like that. But when it comes to things like, you know, salads and so forth, you can adjust it to your liking. Boy, the pepper's hot. Now this is now some parsley again. Okay, we're almost there. Lemon juice. Got to have some lemon juice. Okay, so let's get our lemon juice in there. And I think this time, because this is going to have a different flavor profile, I'm going to use a little bit more lemon. All right. So we used a whole lemon, and that gave me about 3 tablespoons of lemon juice. Yeah. Okay, so the final item now is some olive oil to bring this all together. Okay, that was about a tablespoon, and I'm going to add a little more if I think it's necessary. So here we go. Just mix this up. I'm missing one item actually, almost forgot. And that's gonna be 2 items, sorry. The tomato and the fresh thyme. So let's just add those. Okay, again, this is fresh thyme from my garden. And then we want to add some tomatoes. Where's that tomato knife so we get that cut easily and quickly? Okay. So there you have it. This one is Saltfish Buljol, and it's served mainly further down south in the Caribbean. I don't know why we don't I shouldn't say I don't know. I was going to say I don't know why we don't make these dishes in the Bahamas, the saltfish. We do salted or dried conch, which is preserved conch, where we salt it, hang it, and let it dry. And then we use it in soup and use it to make conch fritters and so forth. But we don't use saltfish, and I think it's because our diet is more closely linked to the southern United States, where we do a lot of mac and cheese and a lot of, fried chicken and that sort of thing, coleslaw, potato salad. Let me just clean my board. And I'm going to show you how this is served, both of them. So what we are going to do is we're going to make some Caribbean chips. And to do that, you need a mandolin, a good sharp mandolin, and sweet potato, green plantain. And all you're going to do is just very gently slice on this mandolin, very thin slices of either sweet potato, plantain. We also do cassava, right? And we're going to make some homemade chips. So when we come back, we are going to have this all plated and ready for you. Okay, so now we've gotten our chips ready, we have our creamed saltfish ready, and we have our saltfish buljol. We're just going to plate this up nicely so that you can see how to share it with your friends. We're just going to put some greens in the bottom of these bowls, serving bowls. And again, the greens are from our garden. And firstly, we're going to spoon some of this creamed saltfish in here. And then the next one. And it looks just like a saltfish salad, actually. So there. And then you want to serve it with our chips that we made from our green plantains and sweet potatoes. And we have our creamed saltfish, and we have our saltfish buljol. Great for entertaining. And I want to, with Portia at Lady Sarah's, reintroduce us to a lot of those beautiful foods. You can see that we have a lot of soursop. They're all out there in abundance. And so here is the soursop that I've already cleaned up, taken out the seeds.